everyone, welcome back to the Movie Studio. My mom and I are here today to talk about the second half of When Calls the Heart Season 10. We covered the first half, so we thought it would be only fitting to come here and talk about the second half, so thanks for coming on.
Hey everyone.
So, now that we're done with Season 10, how do you feel about the season overall? Did you like it? Were you mad on it? What did you think?
I liked it. I thought it kind of went back to the roots of what When Calls the Heart's all about. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
I mean, I thought this was a really good season. Despite it having some writing flaws, it was engaging. Like, even, like, the scandal, I thought was, like, pretty... It made more sense than some of the other ones they've done. And the villains were a little bit better than some of the ones they've done, in my opinion. I feel like it was lacking on, like, some romance, though. And I hope we get that in future seasons. Like, actual genuine relationships between people. I feel like it was just a lot of, like, drama. So I hope maybe next season we can get less of that, more actual relationship building. This was the season of drama, for the most part. But there were some really wholesome moments with the community. So I think it was a pretty good season, in my opinion. So I thought we would start things off with Henry, because a lot of these storylines kind of tie into each other in the second half. So I thought it would be good to start with Henry. So the first half, we saw him start off with, like, Bill and Joseph were trying to, like, get him out of jail for blowing up the mines, but he wanted to pay his time. And then we see him do community service, and he kind of ends the first half, like, in a good place, doing the gardens. And then Molly's daughter, Rosaline, comes back. Now, I don't know about you, but I was shocked to see her. We haven't seen her since season 1, I looked it up. So what did you think of Rosaline coming back?
Well, I love that she came back. And like I said, this season seemed like a throwback. And in this regard, it definitely did, because we revisit the old Henry. And we see where he has hurt someone tremendously, and seeing that person deal with their grief and deal with their unforgiveness and how Henry is feeling. So it brings all that rawness back from that very first season.
And I know that it was last season, I think, when the mine was about to reopen, and then Florence was, like, really upset. And we got some of that and how he felt about that. But this season we saw a new perspective, and I do appreciate that. I like the forgiveness aspect, and how Molly was like, he's not the same man. And Rosaline finally forgiving Henry was, like, a really good moment, I thought. And then when during the choir performance, when she, like, scooted over to let him sit next to her, I thought that was top notch.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a really good moment. And then and then in the finale, we have him bring up again, nothing will ever be enough, to take back, like, to take back the deaths of the men that he put in danger. And he's doing all this as he's grappling with, being asked to be a godfather for Rosemary and Lee's baby. What did you think of Henry becoming a godfather? Do you think, like, his redemption arc is wrapped up? What do you think?
I definitely think so. I really appreciated that there was some really key conversations that focused on forgiveness, and not just Henry's wrongdoings, but multiple strands throughout the episode brought up this whole forgiveness arc. And yeah, I think Henry's come full circle, and I really like seeing the person that he's become.
Yes. And him being a godfather, I think, is a great role for him. Because he had that moment with Goldie in, like, the episode before the finale. And then Lee's like, I have a crazy idea. And I was, like, immediately, like, it's going to be Henry. And I liked how he kind of grappled with it. Like, Henry's not going to, like, just agree to that right away. It's true to his character. He has to wrestle with it. I love that he showed up, even though he was a few minutes late. That's just all part of him.
Mm-hmm.
That was really sweet. And then in the last 10 minutes is so, like, Abigail was suddenly, like, thrown in so much. Like, she was mentioned. When he, like, looked up and saw Abigail's cafe from, like, the window, I was like, oh, like, because I just loved that storyline that those two had, and how she was, like, one of the first, like the first person to like really see him as someone more than a killer or a bad guy. Like she saw through him, and I like that he recognized that. What do you think of that? The connection to Abigail.
Well, and once again, that forgiveness thread, we see that with Abigail and him as well, and it makes you think of so many things in regards to her as a character and as a person. Yeah, I think it's interesting. They're kind of teasing us. We always kind of felt like, would she ever return? I've always felt like it was odd that they kept the name of the cafe, Abigail's. So yeah, I'm not sure.
I think it's 50-50 to me whether they'll bring her back or not. I mean, personally, I don't see it really happening until like maybe the end of the show for like an episode or two. I don't think she'll come back full time. I would like if her and Henry got together. That would be really full circle. I would like that a lot. So yeah, I think Henry had a great arc this season, and it was cool for the 10th season of the show for his arc to be wrapped up. I think that's pretty cool. He's come a long way. He's had the most development out of everyone, in my opinion, out of all the characters. So, moving on, the Hiccup and May romance is so sweet. Like, it's cool to see. I love that Hiccup got way more screen time this season. Last season, he had that whole mayor thing, which was kind of weird. I thought it was weird that he, like, quit at the end. But this season, I think they did good stuff with him. They kind of had him be that character that was everywhere, and doing so many things. And he's kind of like a Lucas in a way. Like, he's not the most confident person, but, like, he does, like, do, like, a lot of good work for the town. And I'm glad that's getting, like, recognized. And I like learning more about May as well, and I hope we get to learn more about her background with the clay masks and her grandma and the heritage. I thought all that was cool. I'm like, they're either going to pair Hickam. Originally, I thought pair him up with either Faith or Fiona, and they chose May, which I thought was interesting, but they're really sweet, and I think they make a lot of sense. What do you think of Hickam and May?
I agree with everything you said. I think they're cute together, and I think I liked seeing the shyness and the newness of them figuring each other out and whether each other liked each other, and yeah, it's very cute.
Okay, so moving on to like the scandal of sorts. It starts off with Montague, this shady businessman. He introduces himself as Madeline's fiance. We immediately like, no, that's not true. Like, there's something up with that because Madeline's missing now. We then discover Union City is trying to steal Hope Valley's water as well as several other neighboring towns. That's the conflict. And then we had this whole thing with Rosemary. She promised the governor all this stuff, so they have to work together, and I love that. Like, the town all coming together, even though it was silly that Rosemary, promised too much. I thought it was fun. Mm-hmm. It was a fun storyline. We discover, not surprising, that the governor and Montague are in cahoots together. And it does end off with Lucas giving the speech, and it does lead into the governor election. And we'll talk about that in a second. And Madeline comes and she signs the land back over to Bill. And that was, I guess, supposed to be like her redeeming moment in a way. What do you think, really just focusing on that last point of Madeline, do you think that could still be a thing in the future? Do you think, like, I think it's clear that there's some, like, good in her. She has, like, had that redeeming quality. What do you think of that?
I think she does. I think that, being a woman and being, she no longer has a husband. He's passed away. In that culture, in that time period, would have been very difficult for her. And she knew she had to do whatever it took to provide for her young child. And unfortunately, this horrible man, Montague, had, something over top of her, keeping her from getting her money. Mm-hmm. So, I think she felt, trapped into doing that. And then once she got to know Bill and got to know the people of the town, she really didn't want to do it. So, yeah, I think she's a good person. Yeah. I think she was just felt like she had no other option. So, So yeah, I think, and I definitely think there's something there with her and Bill, and I definitely think that in a new season, she could be a love interest for Bill.
I think so, and I like her way better than Nora. Like, at first I was like, yeah, she's a Nora doppelganger. She still looks like her, but I like her more than Nora.
When I feel like I know her better than I did Nora.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. They did a good job with her character, even though it kind of felt like a repeat in a way. It kind of remember when he was with that AJ Foster girl, the blonde, that little brief romance. It kind of reminded me of that, but like I think I kind of like this a little bit better, and I hope that continues the Bill and Madeline dynamic.
And Bill seems to attract the bad girl or the one that's having trouble. So
it's always that way, except for Abigail.
That's true.
Abigail is the exception.
Well, yes and no, but
yes and no, yes, yes. So moving on to the biggest topic, and that is Elizabeth and Lucas. So the season started with Aunt Agatha coming to town, and she says Lucas is destined for a bigger stage. And now looking back on it, that was clearly foreshadowing for this governor thing. We had throughout the season, he wanted to build her a castle. She said no. All that talk about compromise. We saw that they were growing more distant. Throughout the whole thing, Elizabeth was connecting with Nathan more. Lucas gave that speech, which was like a really good speech. He shines in that role. I think that for his character, they did a great choice with this character, making him go down this politics path. Especially because I felt like he was kind of getting a bit boring as a character for a bit there. So I do like that they went there. And then, Elizabeth doesn't want to become a governor's wife, really. That's not really... She wants to stay in Hope Valley is the main thing. Hope Valley is her partner, if you want to go with that. Like, that's where she wants to be. That's who she wants to be with. It's Hope Valley. Like,
it's her safe place.
It all goes back to that. So I know you had, so they broke up, and Lucas won the governor election. I know you said you had some issues with the writing on this. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, so it seems like all along this season there's been little tiny threads of doubt that's been planted where Elizabeth's kind of not sure, and Rosemary would say, but are you having doubts? And Elizabeth would say no. But to me, the writing in this just felt off. I just felt like the storyline was too rushed and abruptly changing from, oh, we're getting married, we're so excited, to now I'm not sure at all. It just seemed too rushed.
I didn't. And for Elizabeth and Lucas fans, I understand why they were upset. They did them dirty. And I just assumed they were going to be the end game couple of this show. I was warming up to them. I mean, I never loved them, but season 9 did a lot to make me like them. And I was rooting for them at the beginning of this season.
Yep.
I thought they had an interesting storyline with the wedding, and maybe Lucas was destined for that, but he would decide to stay in Hope Valley and pursue maybe something there more. I don't know. There was other ways they could have gone with it. I do like that they went the politics route. I think it's a cool thing for his character. It's something different. The thing is that first of all, that whole penultimate episode, it started out with they were literally testing cakes for their wedding, and then they broke up at the end of the episode. That was jarring to me.
Yeah.
And they definitely could have written it better. I mean, small moments, like you said, where she was having doubts, but for a storyline, the main storyline, it deserved more attention of her having these doubts about Lucas. It kind of focused more on the Jack and Nathan aspect than the Lucas aspect, the guy she was literally with, and I think they could have written that better. They kind of overshadowed that whole thing. It kind of felt like an afterthought, how her wedding doubts to Lucas.
Right, I agree.
And I didn't like that. And then she's like, I think I made the safe choice when my heart was leaning elsewhere. And I get what they were trying to do, but I really didn't like that all that much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm you wouldn't say that soon, first of all. I'm I know you're conflicted, but you love Lucas. And she admitted that too. But why... I don't know. Do you have any thoughts about like that safe choice line that she told Rosemary?
Well, and she told Lucas that
And
as
she
well.
told Lucas, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't care for that at all. Once again, poor writing, in my opinion. To me, it doesn't match with what the time period of this series is supposed to be going for. I have so many conflicting thoughts on how this relationship was handled.
No. Yeah, they did them dirty. Even though, again, I still like that Lucas is doing this. I think that's a great thing for his character.
I agree.
I did not like, and Elizabeth. I've always like ever since Jack died, Elizabeth's been iffy to me. Like, and this just kind of regresses her character even more. Like the way she treated Lucas, I just thought was not good. Like breaking up with him at the train station. Come on, she could have at least gone and like tried it out, like saw what it was like, and that would have been more realistic. I just think breaking up with him at the train station was not. I get they wanted that. I get why they did it, but like, you know.
Well, and once again, that's why I felt like it was so rushed.
It was rushed.
I mean,
yeah.
she shouldn't have agreed to go with him
No.
if she was having that kind of doubts. So, yeah.
I did feel bad for him, for sure. So let's jump off of the Lucas train, move over to the Nathan train. First of all, Nathan and Faith, like, we were talking about this, they were building that relationship up so much for the first half, and then they just dropped it. Like, and I think that's poor writing, too. I'm like, they clearly, like, somehow, like, changed directions. They wanted her to be in more scene. They wanted Nathan to shift his attention from Faith to Elizabeth so quickly. Like, they dropped that whole Faith storyline, and then just after him and Elizabeth, like, started having all these scenes together. And I'm like, that was jarring, too. They could have written that so much better. And, like, and then after that, Faith, like, barely had a storyline. Like, then she was just in scenes with Fiona and May. Like, so they dropped, like, a relationship I was kind of, like, rooting for, like, so quickly. And then they kind of dropped Faith's character altogether for the rest of the season. And then they randomly, like, start pairing Nathan up with Elizabeth. And I like their scenes. Like, I like that dynamic. I just... What do you think of how the Nathan-Faith thing was handled? Like,
To me, it was just awkward. I can't even explain it, and I don't even know that I feel like the writers communicated the greatest and why they were ending their relationship. It was just all of a sudden, we're ending this relationship, and oh, by the way, we're at a dance and we're going to dance as friends. It was just awkward and never felt like there was a real definitive reason why. I mean, the hints and now as you look back of, oh, well, maybe it's because Nathan still has feelings for Elizabeth, but that wasn't even in the cards during this time that him and Faith were kind of trying to build this relationship. So to me, it was just awkward.
I should have written it down, what exactly, like, Faith said, but she's like, there's something in the way there always has been. I'm like, how on earth would she know about how he feels about Elizabeth when really he asked her to dance at the barbecue? Like, why would she think he's not giving any interest, because he's the one who was trying with her and she's the one who kept pushing him away and being bratty to him the whole time. They just did not write that very good, that storyline.
Yeah, it was almost like, oh, by the way, we're going to throw this in here because we want to shift the attention from Faith to Elizabeth. It was weird.
No, I felt they did Faith's character dirty there too. Like, she deserves better. The fact that she's in the opening credits to me is so weird. Like, what I get it. If they would have paired her with Nathan, for like, actually, of course, it makes sense why she was in the opening credits. But now I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if she's out of them next season, unless they give her like a big storyline. But Henry makes more sense to be in there, or even Hickam. Like, I don't know, but let's move on from that. Elizabeth and Nathan, I had never thought that these two would have a chance. I don't know about you. Once they went with Lucas, I'm like, okay, that's the end game. Like, there's no way Elizabeth and Nathan were going to get together. Nathan was going to get with another girl, whether it was May or Faith. And then randomly, like, they started having all these scenes together, and, like, it piqued my interest. They did a good job of making us feel, like, engaged about what was going to happen. I will give them that. but at this point, like, I mean, I would like Elizabeth and Nathan to be together, but like, do you think it's too late? I don't think it's too late in the game for them, but how do you feel about them at this point?
I mean, they shared all these little moments, all these little glances, all these tiny conversations, and I think if Elizabeth and Lucas weren't like just a couple weeks from getting married, I would feel differently about it.
Mm-hmm.
But because she was just a couple weeks from getting married, to me it just felt wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So, do I like the idea of Elizabeth and Nathan? Yeah, because I've always been team Elizabeth Nathan.
Yeah.
But the timing of it's off.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously that's the direction that they're going. Whether it's probably not going to happen for a few more seasons, though. Like at this point, they're the slowest of slow burns, Elizabeth and Nathan. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get together until like season 13 or something like that. Like, and like, I'm glad that. I mean, part of me is like, no way that they're like re-exploring this. I just think the new showrunner wanted something different. Like they wanted Nathan, or they wanted to mix things up. They maybe wanted Lucas to have like to go into this route. Maybe that was the reason why, and he couldn't be with Elizabeth. And it makes sense. I get that why I get why Lucas would go there, Elizabeth would stay. I get that. They could have written it better. And then that whole thing, at first I thought, oh, she's just projecting her grief with Jack and being around Nathan. It's giving her, like, she's worried because she has the wedding coming up with Lucas. Being around Nathan is making her think of Jack. I thought that was the original thing. It had nothing to do with the Elizabeth and Nathan. That proved out to be wrong. Like, she felt some way about Nathan. It was more than just wedding. I mean, it was wedding jitters. She just... I don't know. I did like the scene she had at Jack's grave. Those were good. We got 2 of them this season. I don't think she's ever visited it before since the funeral. So I like those scenes. I just feel like Elizabeth, like, it wasn't really a triangle. It was mainly like Elizabeth and Lucas's issue about that, and then Elizabeth and Nathan becoming friends again. That was what they were trying to do. They were friendly with each other, but they were developing a friendship again. I hope... I'm still rooting for Elizabeth and Nathan, sort of. Not as much as before, that's for sure. Elizabeth, like, has to develop a lot as a character before that happens. I want her to, like, talk... I want her and Nathan to have actual conversations. I want her to go back to that whole safe thing. Like, oh, I was looking for something safe. Like, what did that actually mean? Was she going to pick Nathan? I want answers on that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I hope we get them if they do get together.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'm going to kind of skip the season 11 stuff. The only thing I want to focus on is we are going to get a wedding. That was confirmed. I think we talked about Hickam and May. Why not? Ned and Florence got together in a season. Hickam and May, I think, is possible.
Mm-hmm.
We secretly said maybe Faith and Fiona would be the first lesbian couple of the show.
But just as a female, I think the idea of Faith and Fiona being strong, independent women and pursuing their careers is a very good thing if that's what they choose to do.
It's a good thing, but I wrote it down here. Faith and Fiona deserve actual storylines instead of just being matchmakers for May.
That's true.
Like, they better give them something next season because they barely had any... I mean, Faith had the Nathan thing. Fiona barely had anything to do this season.
Of course, she got the whole radio live.
She did. She had moments. They both had
I love
moments.
career women.
They both had moments, but Faith and Fiona deserve better. I wrote down, I was always rooting for Lucas and Fiona. Like, I'm like, I want Elizabeth with Nathan, I want Lucas with Fiona. I kind of gave up hope on that because they barely interacted. But they did interact with the radio. They do have a lot in common, Lucas and Fiona, I think. So maybe, but I think, one last thing, what do you think happened with Lucas at when he walked out? Do you have a guess on who that was? Probably Montague or
maybe
Balfour.
or someone from his past, and we did talk about that.
That would be more interesting.
Yes.
Then those are the obvious choices. I feel like someone else would be interesting. Like, maybe that Jeanette girl. Do you remember like the Jeanette girl he was like always on the phone with, and he was trying to incorporate that deal with Walden? I would like to learn more about that, whatever was going on there. But we'll see. But yeah, it was a good season. The writing could have been better, that's for sure. I think we've talked long enough, but thank you for coming on and joining me. I'm looking forward to season 11. I think there's going to be a lot of good stuff to look forward to. So, do you have anything else you want to say?
Nope, looking forward to season
Yes,
11.
looking forward to it. So, thanks everyone for watching, and bye everyone.
Bye.